learning styles. Some of it has already been done during different sessions. So I'll change the perspective from which we are looking at it. Instead of the trainer's perspective, instead of looking at this as a trainer, let's just look at it as a participant. What changes do we need to make to our presentations, to our presentation style, and also to our attitude to a training program from their perspective? Do you know that there are various learning styles? Are you all sure? Are there various different learning styles? And in case there are many different learning styles, does my presentation and the process of my presentation, does it affect it? Yes. Can one or two of you tell me how does it affect it?
Particular subject, all the three will be having a different concept, or they will be conceiving different ideas.
And they don't learn, then teach the way
Thank
they
you very
learn.
much for saying that.
Performance will be affected. You will see, you will think that we are not getting you. So you will disturb. You will disturb, you will distract yourself, your morale will go down.
Now the question that I asked you, learners, and I am giving them some training, I am giving them some content, and how does their different learning styles affect my presentation? The question is, how is, yeah.
We try that our participants means they need to learn to the 100% whatever we are trying to explain them. So we change the process. Because of changing the flow or concentrating on single point, we may not be able to complete the entire topic. One way that can happen, or because of we are changing our flow, we may lose our continuity.
Thank you very much, Kalyani. And some medical practitioners who work on the mind and its functioning have done a lot of work, and in the 1940s, they came out with a theory called learning styles theory, multiple learning styles theory, and also some people call it multiple intelligences. So there are various kinds of intelligences that need to be kept in mind when we design our training. I think you heard Sunil in the beginning yesterday. He said that the training process goes through a certain cycle. What was the first item there, do you remember? Needs assessment. So unless we have assessed the needs of the people, I think Anand also when he spoke, he drew your attention to one fact that we considered when we invited you here. Narendra Bhandariji said, please include a question on a purpose for which they would like to come here. Do they want entertainment? Do they want some fun? Do they want some sightseeing here in Hyderabad? Do they want to learn something else? Do they want to upskill themselves? What is it that they want? Ask them. This is the instruction that he gave me. So when I designed that Google form, the last question was, what are the expected outcomes from this presentation, from this whole program? So on that, a lot of research was done, and scientists have found that there are 7 different kinds of intelligences. The 8th one was added later. So I think you can easily read them, you can understand. I'm going to talk to you about that today a little more. So there are some kinds of learners here in this hall who either in the form of text or in the form of listening. When they are listening or writing or reading, their focus is on words. And there are bound to be some 5%, 10%, 20% among the audience in case you would like to, in case you are invited to a program, and in case you want to do some kind of a pre-assignment, or if you would like to do a survey, you can always pick up any one such survey that helps you identify what kinds of learners you are going to have and what is the most predominant style of learning of these learners. You can administer that and you can find out, you can pre-check, oh, there are 50% of my learners who are a certain style. That's why I'm going to curate my presentation such a way that there is something for them when they come to me. So there are what are called verbal learners, and nobody is completely one style. Please remember that. If somebody says I'm a verbal learner, it does not mean he's 100%. All other things also work on that, but maybe one is more a verbal learner than another kind of a learning person. And this person prefers to have lots of good words and keywords. Then acronyms, I think you were told yesterday, what acronyms are, mnemonics are. I think there was a session by Sunil on that. And they love to have quizzes during, because word searches, crossword puzzles, and riddles, these are things that they like. I'm going to show you a slide which perhaps you can take to a presentation where there are a lot of verbal learners. I'll show you a slide like this. It takes you maybe 20 minutes, 30. You need not read that. It takes you maybe 10, 20 seconds to read that, right? And when you read, some of you are very good at grasping it. What exactly is the idea? And you understand that. And in case all my students, all my participants, all the people in the training program, right, they are verbal in the learning style, it makes it very easy for me. I can take a few slides and I can present them, or I can give them a handout and I can ask them to read, right? Or I can give them a book. I can maybe create a few quizzes based on that. I think that does my job. But unfortunately, everybody does not learn like that. Maybe the moment I show a slide like this, already half of them have lost their interest in that. Oh, this is reading out the slide. The gentleman came all the way and he called himself a great trainer. He came and showed a slide. In fact, the slide was such the people sitting at the back could not even read that because the text is too very congested there, and that's why it did not serve its purpose. It's quite possible. In case there are verbal learners, even at the text level, we can make a change that makes it easier for our verbal learners to learn. Instead of showing this text, suppose I make this one single change. What change have I made? The same text. I have highlighted a part of the text. So the same text presented slightly differently makes my training program more effective because there are some verbal learners who grasp words easy and who are good at identifying the keywords, and they can learn from the keywords. And if I am speaking now, maybe they look at the keywords, the highlighted words, and highlighting can be done in at least 5-6 different ways. You can change the color, you can underline that, you can italicize that, you can bold that, you can enlarge the size of the font, any such thing. Whatever you do is up to you. This is still not good for a trainer, especially our FDI and LCIP graduates. Some of us take slides like this. It's still not very effective in a large hall like this. The yellow color may be not very visible and the slide still is congested. The whole text is still written there. I can make a small change to that by changing my slide like this. So what am I doing? Still, there are only 4 points I wanted to tell you today. And the 4 points are there on the slide. It is useful to me, it's useful to you, it's useful to all the verbal learners. So instead of showing you the text, instead of just highlighting parts of that, I converted my text into some bullets or some important major points. And now, even if I want to read the slide, I cannot do that because the text is not there. In case I stand here and in case I want to take a look at the slide, maybe I can just say, oh, we would like to congratulate our international president who has just assumed his office, something like that. So I have to make my own sentence now. The whole sentence is not there. So even if I make a slide like this, instead of reading that, if there are verbal learners there, what will you do? So when you cannot focus only on the slide. So you have to listen to me necessarily. The word congratulations is the clue there. That's helpful to me and also helpful to you. If you are making notes also, it's very easy. You don't need to copy down the whole sentence. You just write, congratulations, and then you listen to me. The time that you have saved in writing that automatically is helpful to me in giving you a better presentation. This still is not enough. What can I do to this? Instead, I limit my presentation to meet the needs of the verbal learners, realizing that there is another set of learners in my group who are auditory learners. Right? They learn a different way. They learn with their ears. They love music. They love sounds. They love rhythm. They love rhyme. Anything that comes in the form of sound is what they get excited with. And such people, because there are some bound to be, and I can change the same presentation that I'm making, that 30-second, 20-second presentation, instead of showing them words, what do? I just change it to an audio. It's not connected, sound?
Lions Clubs International, the world's largest, most meaningful, noblest, and the most effective service club organization. We promise you that we'll make the association proud by service from the heart.
Needs of the verbal learners. Now I am meeting the needs of a different set of my participants, and they are auditory. And they love listening to something. It can be my own speech, or it can be a speech I've extracted from somewhere, or I've played an audio. By playing this audio, I'm meeting another 5-10% of my audience. But there is a problem here. The problem is now, when I made this change, it is the auditory learners who are benefiting, but the verbal learners are lost. What are they doing? Oh, they find it very, very disgusting and interesting. I know quite a people. For instance, last night, one lady participant sent me a message at 1 o'clock. Real happening today. One of us sent me a message at 1 o'clock last night, and she sent me an audio message. She said, there is some sound happening in my room. Do you know what that is? The snoring of my colleague. This is the audio I recorded, and then my colleague in my room is snoring so loud. How can I sleep here? Please help me. Right? So, there may be many others in our rooms who might have snored, but we slept off. Right? We were not paying attention to that snoring at all. We were happily sleeping. But there are some people who are very sensitive to sound. Yesterday, at least 4 or 5 people told me, sitting in the front benches, oh, that sound is so very loud. And some people, I think, it was Manindra, I think he was sitting at the back and he came, told me, sir, we are not able to hear anything. And maybe it's off the topic now, but whenever we go to a training program as participants, one small change that we can do is, I always find people who come to me and complain, sir, the AC is too very low, the AC is too very high, the sound is loud, the sound is low. It's very difficult to meet these needs. No, there are lots of people with lots of expectations. The easiest thing that we can do as participants is, instead of complaining, the first thing that we need to do is, we have to go to a place where we are comfortable. If I am not able to hear something, maybe I have to come closer. If it's too very loud for me, I have to go to a place where it is likely to be, volume could be lower. Similarly, if the AC is too very, maybe I have to go to a place where the vent is not there, directly hitting me. Anyway, that's a different thing. But coming back to my topic, so I can use the auditory kind of my presentation so that the auditory learners are... now, I can make one more change to my presentation. So what do I do here? Instead of making it an audio presentation, Mike Betal.
President Doug Alexander, congratulations for assuming office.
I'm stopping it. What I would like you to learn is that I've made a small change to my presentation, my slides or whatever, by adding 2 things together. So there is an audio in it, and there is text in that, and there are some verbal learners, and there are some auditory learners, and both are taken care of now. And in case I've done that survey, suppose I know that there are 70% auditory learners in my presentation, maybe I'll have more auditory element and less verbal element. In case I have not done any survey, if I am invited and I straight go, I just make a mental guess, roughly about 1/4, 1/5 of the participants are each kind. So I will have something to meet the needs of every kind of the learners. This is one way of doing it. Next, we will further go to see that there are a third set of learners, a third kind of learning style. This is a different kind of an intelligence. They learn best when they see things. It's not text. There is a little difference between verbal and visual. Don't get confused. Verbal is just words. They love words. They love learning through words. But visual, they want to see something. Unless they see, their learning is not complete, or they are not very impressed. So in case I realize that I have some visual learners in my presentation, what can I do? I can make one more change again. So instead of what I did earlier,
as the President of Lions Clubs International.
I've stopped there, don't worry. So the question is, what have I done here? Sorry? Visual? Verbal, because I've showed you the text at the bottom, and the text can scroll, the text can move, only that part of the text that's uttered by the speaker can appear in installments. Lots of things can be done because technology allows that. So you can have captions, you can have scrolling, you can have moving text, or you can still text. The whole text is there now. Of course, I could have used a different color also, because the visual learners also are impressed with the color that I use. So now in this slide, what I've done, the first slide has evolved into a different kind by meeting the needs of the verbal learners now, and the auditory learners because they have sound there, and the visual learners though. But the visual learners, all of them may not be alike again. So what can I do? I can do one more stage.
President Doug Alexander, congratulations for assuming office as the President of Lions.
So this is, though again meeting the visual learners and the other two categories also, the improvement that has happened is, instead of a still picture, I have added a video to that. So among visual learners, there are some who prefer just to have a picture, and some who prefer to have a video element in that. And I'm sure any training program that you are going to take will have this kind of audience also. So you have to check before you have gone to the make your presentation, you must check what is it that I have in my presentation to meet this person or this percentage of people who are visual in nature, visual in their learning approach. So once you take care of that, you can make lots of improvements to that further. This is another way of doing it. Yeah. Sorry.
President Doug Alexander, congratulations for assuming office as the President of Lions Clubs International, the world's largest, most meaningful, noblest, and the most effective service club organization. We promise you that we'll make the association proud by service from the heart.
So we have made one little improvement by adding not just the picture of the person who is speaking, not just one or two visuals, but I have collected certain visuals which are relevant to what is being talked about. Perhaps even a deaf person or somebody who does not learn auditorily can still benefit from this. So in case you have time, you can change your slides to make such changes so that, and each of these slides you might have seen has the least possible text. During your FDI and during our LCIP, we were told that all slides must meet at least two conditions. One was the 6x6 rule, one was the 2x2 rule. I think you all followed that and you continue to follow them. In case by chance you're not following them, it's the time you can change your slides to follow those two rules. Those are excellent rules, very, very helpful from the participant's point of view, keeping their interests in mind, visibility, etc. So this is another way that I can make my presentation a little more interesting and also to help meet the multiple learning intelligences and multiple learning styles. So there is one more category who do not learn only with the help of words, by seeing words or by reading words, not just by listening to something, not just by seeing something, but they would like to have some logic built into their presentations. How can we build logic into presentations relating to Lionism? It's not a mathematics topic, it's not statistics, it's not logic, it's not philosophy. I'm talking about Lions fundamentals. I'm talking about vision, one of the global focuses. So the easiest way to add logic to our presentations, I saw one of the presentations in the morning, is to add some questions at least. It makes them think. So one of the presentations, felicitation techniques that was presented today was the art of questioning. The art of questioning is not just questioning, it is knowing how to ask a question, when to ask a question, what kind of a question. It's useful both to the participants as well as the trainer. That many trainers, are you following me? This is the answer I get. What does it mean? Even the one who's sleeping said yes. And because everybody said yes, I'm also saying yes. So, I mean, this kind of questions which are in, technically they are called yes-no questions. As far as possible, we must avoid yes-no questions. Any question that gets me either yes or no as an answer is a bad question. In a training program, even in a classroom. So, what can we do? Instead of asking such questions, we must change them into open-ended WH information, because there are various names for that. So, information questions. So, suppose I ask you, what's your name? She cannot say yes or no. She has to give some information. And that also is a bad question. If I ask her, what's your name? She says, Bhavna. I think that's, I mean, for a training program, that's not a good question. A good question is one that elicits multiple correct answers. If I ask Bhavna, why have you come here? The answer she gives and the answer that Amarnath gives cannot be the same. If there are 100 people here, all 100 people give 100 different answers. So the more questions that elicit multiple correct responses you build into your training program makes you a more effective trainer. So you have to ask yourself before you have gone to make your presentation, how many multiple correct answers are possible to the question that I am going to ask? How many information questions are going to be there? In fact, first of all, how many questions are there? Is it going to be a lecture, or is it going to be a presentation? Is it going to be a felicitation, or it's going to be a facilitation? Is it going to be what kind of a training program is that? How much time I've been given, all that are other components that you need to look at. So add some questions to your presentation so that people not only see you, listen to you, and watch you, but also start thinking, applying their mind to it. And once there are questions in your presentation, it automatically becomes interesting to the logical learners. So your presentation, suppose you are invited to make a 30-minute presentation, actually build at least, some questions into your presentation at regular intervals and meet the needs of the logical learners. And there are social learners. I think many of you demonstrated this skill in the morning today during those 9 concurrent presentations. That was the whole idea Anand and Narendraji had in their mind when they created those concurrent sessions. Each one of the 9 sessions was aimed at helping you picking up one of these collaborative learning techniques. So when people are seated, instead of talking to them, you can very easily create role plays. I think you saw that. I don't want to demonstrate it again. You saw pair work in some of the groups. You saw group work. You saw activities. You saw some games. You learned drama-based presentation techniques and many other collaborative techniques where people, I think even during that storycation program yesterday, almost every session we had something like that. I think that generally goes wrong when we are doing this is, I've been a teacher and I've seen other teachers doing it. The most popular, very frequently made mistake is after the work has begun, after the activity has begun, we continue giving instructions. It happened here also on some occasions, but in case we can avoid that, I think that's a success. Our success begins there. Simple rule to remember is whenever you want to organize an activity, give all the instructions. Anand told everybody that you must have the instructions written, practiced, rehearsed. Every instruction that you're going to give must be written down before and rehearsed so that when we go, okay. So in case people are working in pairs and groups, my social learning style also is taken care of. So there is one section of them who are social learners, social intelligence. And to conclude, I just would like to tell you once again, I said it in the beginning, that no one is an exclusively logical learner. No one is an exclusively introvert learner. There are many other learners also. No one is an exclusively naturalist learner, right? No one is exclusively any one of the kinds that we've already seen. So we are all a combination of different learning styles, and any group, even if you go to an IIT and students, if you see the students, they are still heterogeneous. And there cannot be anything called homogeneous anywhere. So every group is heterogeneous, and especially when you go to a place like this, our languages are different, our backgrounds are different, our learning styles are different, our opportunities are different, so many other things are. I mean, we had a lesson on diversity during our RLLI, ELLI, etc. So keeping that in mind, so no one is an exclusive learning style. Keep your presentation, make your presentation such that everyone is taken care of. Right, finally, this is a message that can be taken out of this presentation. Whenever we are invited to make a presentation anywhere, any part of the country, any multiple district, any language, so let's ensure that, and maybe after our slideshow or presentation is ready, we can ask ourselves, we can ask ourselves, what is there in my presentation for the verbal learners? What's there in my presentation for the spatial learners? There are some spatial learners. Unless if you have a drawing sheet and if you give them some color crayons and all that, and if you ask them to put that, Deepa Kiran did that. So she asked us to just imagine our childhood and draw a picture. She said, you need not be a great painter for that. So in case you have something like that for the spatial learners and the other kinds, I think your presentation is bound to become much, 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 much better. It caters to the needs of all kinds of learners. Thank you very much. I think this is one thing that we can keep in mind when we go to it. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you're welcome. I'm sorry I went in a flow and I did not have time to invite you for questions and doubt. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Task was easy, but I engaged you all. So naturally what happens? So you are getting ready for the presentation, that's one. You interacted with each other, you made friends, and most importantly, indirectly I am checking what kind of a learner are you. I am getting some feedback from you. Some messages, text messages, they are not seeing. But when I sent a voice message one day, a different set of people answered those questions. Some people who had been sleeping till then, the first assignment, second assignment, they did not do at all. But when I posted that voice assignment, automatically there were at least 10 new answers that day, 10 new people answering that day. So we realized, oh, these are auditory learners, they prefer to learn the auditory way. I think, yes, Bimlaji.
All those kind of things which will help us to learn the whatever is being presented. In addition to auditory and visual, also learning by doing.
Are those who learn things only by doing. Suppose if there is an activity, there was a snakes and ladder thing there happening there in that room. So when they were actually doing that and they enjoyed doing that, there was fun there was a lot of activity happening in that room, and also they enjoyed learning something. If that activity was not there, suppose the same thing was taught to them in the form of a lecture, I don't think it would have benefited everybody. There was, of course, a lecture element. Lecture is not bad. Lecture also is good. Talk also is good. But it suits certain situations. Suppose you are invited as a chief guest to a function. You are asked to maybe install the office bearers of a club or a district. Will you make it a kinesthetic program? Or will you make it a musical program? We tried making it musical in our district, right? So maybe what we did is, for instance, I was invited to install a club last year. What I did is I created a slideshow for an installation with the pictures of all the offices that I was going to install. I had their names and I had some music added to that. And there was some animation added to that. As I installed, so the slides appeared, there was music and some such thing, automatically it became a little more interesting. Otherwise, installations are generally boring. So what would you name them? Not kinesthetic, then what would you name this? This is visual. This is visual. I have added a visual element to that. Kinesthetic is when you give an activity. I told you, I just gave an example. So when, for instance, you can take out your participants to a game. You can have a game inside the room, outside the room, at the table, off the table, where you are physically involved. It's not talking to each other. There must be physical activity, something you must be doing with your limbs, something you are doing with your body. Only then it becomes kinesthetic. So take care of the kinesthetic learners also. I know when I'm giving a long lecture like that, maybe the first 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 10 minutes, 18 minutes at best, people will listen. But after that, the interest wanes. To avoid that, maybe every 10th minute, every 5th minute, suppose I have an activity, if I plan, suppose I can build that into my slideshow, remember. Like I had that audio and video files into my slideshow, we can have that. So that group question, that pair activity, that physical game that I have in that, the instructions can be added there. Suppose I am giving instructions. First I give instructions orally. Maybe I show them on the screen. Don't do both the things together because, I mean, it distracts some. And some are only reading there and only some are only listening to you. If you do it one after another, or in case you have 8 instructions, you show instruction 1, and when you're sure that the first instruction has been understood by everybody, then you animate the second bullet point that you would like to show. I think it works wonders. But of course, you have to take time also into your account, and depending on the time available, the content that has been given you, add as many multiple learning styles into your account. Look at from their perspective. I think your presentations will certainly become much more effective than they already are. Thank you. Thank you.
Nagaraju, you rock! Thank you very, very much, Nagaraju. And now is the time for me to deliver a small session.